again, support that counsel. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, coming here to BYU, we had a lot of new experiences. We were talking about home buying the first semester. One of the students raised his hand and he says, you know what, in my country what you do is you just go find a plot of land and then you start building on it. And we said, you don't have to pay for the lot? He goes, no, because there's lots of land available too. So we had to realize that home buying globally is very different, depending where you're from.
So I'm going to read through this. Okay. Buying a home is a personal and culturally influenced process that varies significantly across the globe. While homeownership is a common goal in many countries, the methods of purchasing, financing, and valuing property differ. In the United States, mortgages with long-term fixed rates are standard, while in many European and Asian countries, buyers often rely on shorter-term loans or even pay cash. Some cultures emphasize multi-generational living, influencing property sizes and locations, while others prioritize urban convenience and investment potential. Regardless of location, it is crucial to follow sound financial principles when buying a home, such as budgeting wisely, avoiding excessive debt, understanding local regulations, and ensuring the purchase aligns with long-term goals. By making informed and principled decisions, buyers can achieve financial stability and secure a home that truly meets their needs and budget.
Yeah. So again, what's our framework? We're using the U.S. market as our example here. If we chose to use different markets, we would have different stories and different frameworks, but at least you can understand. So why is it critical to be wise in your home buying decision? Thoughts? You're going to live in it for a long time. You know what they say, marry in haste, repent in leisure. You know, you buy a house in haste, you'll repent in leisure too. Yeah. In addition, you're probably, at least in the U.S., for most people, it's their largest single purchase they'll make.
That they'll ever make.
So realize it's a major decision, and it's not something you should do lightly. What does it provide? A place to raise your kids, place to minimize travel time, place to reflect your personal tastes. And I like it. We like certain places that it's kind of a holy place. Our home can be a heaven on earth. What a risk. You buy too much house and you lose so many other things. Lots of people have lost their shirts because they had a very expensive home, a downturn in the market, and they couldn't make the payments, and so they lost their home. So there are risks with home ownership as well. We shared just the principles. Again, we've divided home ownership into funding, meaning, and buying a home. So we've divided into different steps. But really the key is you want to live below your means. You want to fit your house to your budget, not your budget to your house. And we want to be a good steward over those things. Again, it's a long-term commitment. If you'll take care of it, it will last you a long term.
I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is buying too much of a house, spending too much money on their home, and then they can't even afford to furnish it. They can't afford to keep it up. They can't afford to pay the bills,
and
like the utility bills.
And they can't afford to save for their other goals.
Right. It kind of crowds out their other goals because they bought too much house. So I am a child of heavenly parents, learning about available housing options so that I can find the best housing option for my family that allows us to enjoy a safe and secure home at an acceptable cost so that we can accomplish our mission and goals.
Yeah. So that's kind of our framework here. Again, what Sister Sudwick said, what's the biggest mistake? Buying too big a home. 4 options: renting, buying, building, and renovating. That's the last one we'll talk about. Advantages of renting, again, you guys know that. You guys are doing that right now. Again, it's mobility. It's easy and inexpensive to move. No cost. Something goes wrong, you call the landlord. Hopefully the landlord will come and fix it. Low financial commitment. It's easy to budget for. You know exactly what you're going to be paying. Disadvantages, there's no lasting changes. Lack of control. Rent can go up. They can kick you out. No interest deductions, no potential property appreciation. It's not much of an investment. But what happens if you're going to be in a place for a short period of time? we strongly recommend you renting. It's just buying a home, it's just expensive. There's so many, we'll share today a lot of the expenses that go into it. Realize that today is a very shortened version of what we teach on buying a home. On the skills development problems, it takes you through the longer version. So we encourage you to go through to understand more of that.
Especially when you're getting ready to buy a house.
Yeah, especially when you're getting ready.
Right now, you're not getting ready to buy a house.
What's the advantage of buying? You've got pride of ownership. You've got a fixed monthly payment, assuming you get a fixed mortgage. You can deduct your interest payments on your taxes. And you've got the potential for property appreciation. Some people say, well, real estate always goes up. No, that's not always the case. So what's the disadvantages? If you buy, it's just significant upfront costs. Down payment, points, insurance, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But generally 1% to 2% of the home value per year just needs to go for maintenance. So if you've got a $200,000 home, you'll plan $2,000 to $4,000 or $2,000 to $6,000 a year just to maintain the home. That's for things like your heater goes out, or you have drainage problems, or landscaping, or things like that. And the value could decrease. Not all properties go up. So realize too that to buy and sell a home, it's time consuming and expensive. Our last home, it took us 2 years to sell. It just took us a long time. And then you have building. The nice thing about that, it's got a lot of the same benefits as buying, but you can get exactly what you want. You get new appliances, new housing systems. Again, likely help you have fewer repairs. Nice thing, you can pick the location you want. You can also pick a lot of times you can pick the contractor you want to. What's the disadvantages? Building, again, additional labor expenses for landscaping. Just realize it's a challenge for building roles. High stress, and it could damage the relationship. Depends on whether you're very good at making decisions and living with those decisions. Luckily, Sister Sedgwick can make a decision, and she's good at it. So we've done each of these things. We've built, we bought, we've rented, and we've renovated. Yep. So realize when you're building, if you're not good at making decisions, it can be very, very stressful. And then back to Metzley's question about renovating. We did that on our, we've done that twice. Well, first house we bought, but the last one we renovated. We bought it and then we just basically gutted it and rebuilt.
Yeah, we did. We were crazy.
Renovating
too much in.
Faster than building, especially if you do the sweat equity like we did. And it may be necessary if there's no lots available to. What's the risk of renovating? Sister Sedgwick was pretty good about if I told her how much it would cost, she would double it and then she'd double it again, and she was usually right. And that worked both for the amount of money and the amount of time too. So realize there. But our first house, we bought it, but we had to renovate it too. It was all we could afford. The only reason we found that is because we were creative, but I was an executive secretary, and someone came in and interviewed with the bishop and said, she goes, yeah, I'm moving back to St. George in 6 months. So my ears picked up, and I said, hey, do you mind if we go take a look at your place? She goes, sure. So Sister Sedgwick looked at it, and she says, I don't like that house.
It was bad.
I want nothing to do with that house. Don't talk to me about that house ever.
Then as we looked around, we're like, that was really the best thing available in our price range.
In our price range.
So we bought it.
6 months later, we owned the house. So it had 200 feet of cracks in the ceiling. It wasn't sheetrock, it was plaster. Second floor, there was 3/8 of an inch between the glass and the windowsill because they had painted the outside and not the inside, and the wood had warped. It was an interesting house. But and then are they all? But it worked for us. We worked 3 Saturdays a month for 4 years, and I probably got what I was worth out of it, about 25 cents an hour.
Yeah, we didn't make money on that house for sure.
But are there alternatives? And again, we're becoming much more aware of the alternatives, things like condominiums. But housing units that are jointly owned, generally lower cost than a traditional home. So what do? You own your unit, but shared spaces are owned by all. You've got cooperatives. You don't own the unit, units are owned collectively. You got mobile homes, you guys have seen those. Duplex, townhomes. What we're seeing here, at least in Hawaii, is a lot more shared residences. We see that a lot more in Asian countries too. A family will come in and they'll take one place and then they'll subdivide it, and maybe you'll have three different housing units in the same place.